So I'm pretty sure that at least one of you is going to go down into the comments and say something like, well, how can we add pagination to this site right here? Well, I got you covered, my dude, and in this episode we are going to do pagination, and also I'm going to show you how you can add SCSS or Sass support to your Svelte, Sapper and WordPress project. Okay, so first of all, let's start with just a little bit of cleanup. I'm going to take this right here and put it up. This is just because I kind of learned to work with Vue, and in Vue I will have my template, then my script, then my styles, and we are also going to be adding some styles during this episode, and they are going to go down here below the script. Okay, so we put that here, and next thing I want to do, I just want to inline this because we don't need const JSON and then define posts as JSON. But we're just going to define our posts to be this await res.json. Or if you are using PHP Storm, you don't have to do that by hand. You can just do something like this. So I pressed Option Enter, or probably it would be Alt Enter on Windows, and just you can just say inline variable, right? And then it's posts await res.json. Okay, so that's a bit of a cleanup. So let's define the things that we need for our pagination. Well, we would need 3 additional things right here. So first of all, we are getting the posts. Okay. Second thing we need the number of total pages. So the pages that we are going to have while displaying our posts. So I'm going to define that as let total pages. It's going to be null for now. Then we want to define the current page. That current page is of course going to change during the life cycle of our application as the user clicks on the page buttons. But the first page is going to be of course page number 1. So we are going to define let current page be 1. And we are also going to define the number of pages. Actually, we are going to create the array of pages. You will see later we are doing this because Svelte doesn't have a for template function. It just has an each function. So we would need to take this number of total pages and then run it through our for loop and create an array with the number of pages that we can use in our template with this each function and go through it so that we can create our buttons, right? So we are going to say let current page be 1 and let pages, as I said, they are going to be an array. We are going to define them right here. Okay, so for now it's an empty array. Okay, so this is our variables. These are the variables that we are going to be needing. Next thing I want to do is I want to actually create a function that is going to fill out this array right here. And I'm just going to create a function called createPagesArray, which is going to fill out this array, this empty array right here. So it's going to take a number of total pages, which we'll get from here. Okay, so this is just a normal for loop, and then we are going to just go through that number and push it into our array. So air.push is going to be I, and we are going to return that array. Okay, so now we created pages array. Next thing we want to do is we want to actually fill out that array and also get the number of total pages. For this, WordPress is going to help us a lot, as you will see. So let me just show you a few things that we need to know and understand before we start creating this pagination. So I'm just going to go to the browser and I'm in my posts. So posts endpoint, and as you can see right here, I'm getting around 10 items. Well, 10 items exactly. So maybe I want to just get 5 items. So to get 5 items, I'm going to do per page equals 5 or 2. For our example, 2 is enough. Okay. So as you can see, we get 2 items. Great. Now, remember the IDs of the items. So the one is 13, the other one is 17. Now, I maybe want to get to the page number 3, and I would do that by doing page equals 3. Right? So now these are also 2 items, but with the IDs of 29 and 20. So this is the actual WordPress REST API pagination. It works, right? We are getting all of our posts. We can define how many posts we want to display per page, and we can also go to the page we want and access it, and that way we can have our pagination. The only thing that is missing right here is the total number of pages. We don't know how many pages there are in our response, in our REST API response. But luckily, WordPress is actually going to help us with that also. So, first of all, let's just go to code editor, and I'm going to set this to be 5. So per page is going to be equal 5. Okay, we don't need these posts right here. I'm going to delete those, save this. Now, if I go to the application, we will see only 5 posts. Great. As I said, we need total number of pages. In this case, that's going to be 3 because we have 11 posts. So on the first page is going to be 5 posts, on the second page is going to be another 5 posts, and on the third page we should have only 1 post because we have 11 posts. Okay, so how do we get that number of pages? Well, if you go to network, right here, open this up a little bit and go to posts per page equals 5, you can see something very interesting right here. You have this header right here, which is called XWP total pages, right? So this is the number of total pages that we have. You also get XWP total, which is the total number of posts. So you can even use that if you need it in some way. So XWP total and XWP total pages. Okay, great. Now we need to access that header somehow and display total number of pages that we actually have. And then we can create our pages array so that we can display our buttons, and then our pagination will almost be done. Okay, so let's go to our code editor. And first of all, we want to define total pages. Of course, we already defined that variable right here. Currently it's null, but we want to now get those headers and assign the value of those headers to the total pages variable. So total pages is going to be equal to response that we are getting, headers, get, and then we want to get our header. So it's going to be XWP total pages. Right? And now this should give us the total number of pages that we actually have. So total pages.log is going to show us that number. And as you can see right here, it's number 3. So we have 3 pages just like we calculated. Great. Now we can create our pages array. And we are going to go right here again and just do pages is going to be equal to create pages array. And we are going to pass it total pages. Okay, save this. Now we go right here again. We didn't console log that out. So pages.log, save it. Test it out. As you can see, now we are getting an array with 1, 2, 3 in it. So this is we are going to use that array, and then we are going to use the each function that we get for our templates so that we can go through it and we can create our buttons and display the number of pages. And when we click on them, we are going to fetch another 5 posts and so on. Okay, so first of all, let me just add a class right here. We are going to need that later, but I don't want to forget it. Post list. because I'm going to style this just a little bit later. And then we just want to first of all add a markup for our pagination. It's not going to do anything right away, but we just want to create that markup. So it's going to be ul.pagination, right? And in it, we are going to do each pages as page. Okay, and in it we are going to have li with buttons, with button, and in that button we are just going to display the page number. Why are you doing this? Okay, great. Now if I refresh this, let me just see. Okay, so now we have 3 buttons with 1, 2, 3, with the number of pages that we actually have. Okay, this is great. Now we have to make those buttons work somehow. Okay, so let's create a function that is actually going to be changing our pages. So we are going to do function change page, and we are going to get the page number, or just page, for it, and then we can use the fetch function right here. Not function, but fetch. Fetch is going to be this right here, and then we are just going to add some things to it. So fetch posts per page, and then we wanna end page is going to be equal to page. No, like this, right? And then we do then, because this is a promise based function, so we got to do then. We are waiting for response. Res is going to be we are going to now return the JSON of that response. And then we are going to get the result, which is going to be posts. Actually, we are going to assign that result to posts is equal to result. And what we also want to do right here is we want to now set the current page to be another number, and that number is going to be the number that user has clicked. So we are just going to say current page is page, and that's about it. That's the crux of our pagination. Now we just need to say to these buttons right here that whenever somebody clicks on it, call this function, send the page to it. It's going to go to our API, fetch it. Then it's going to assign the result of that fetch to our posts. Of course, since Svelte is very reactive, it's going to automatically change the posts on our page. And then we will also want to set the current page to be this. Okay, so to do that, we are just going to go to our buttons and do on click. So on click is going to be equal to, so we want to open up a function right here and say change page, and we want to send the page that we are getting as a variable right here. So we are sending that page to our change page method. And if everything is written correctly right here, this pagination should already work. So let's save this, go to our browser and test this out. Okay, we are actually getting some errors. Actually, we are not getting any errors, but this just doesn't work. So I actually just forgot to put those braces right here. And now if I save this, go to our page and click on number 2, as you can see, we are getting another 5 posts. And on the third page, we are getting just post number 1, like we would expect. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to just style this a little bit and show on which page we are currently on. So to do that, first of all, I'm just going to open up my console. Hope you can see it okay. And now what we need to do, we need to install two things. I don't like using just vanilla CSS, so I want to use SCSS for this styling, right? Although I'm not going to do styling by hand right here, I'm just going to copy out some styles. But we want to add Svelte preprocessor and node Sass so that we can preprocess the Sass for our application. So to do that, you would first of all do npm install Svelte preprocessors and node Sass. Okay, the next thing you would need to do, you would import that preprocessor into your rollup configuration. So you go right here, and I'm just going to paste this in. So next thing we want to do, we want to create a variable called preprocess. And we just do Svelte preprocess is going to be SCSS, and we want to include paths src. Okay, so we want to include paths src, and now with this variable, when we add it to our client and to our server, I'm just going to copy it, and so we are adding it to a client and this Svelte object right here, and also to our server, also into our Svelte object. Now whenever Svelte or rollup gets through our code and comes to lang equals SCSS or encounters SCSS files, it's going to know what to do with them. So we are going to save this and now try running our server, npm run dev. Okay, everything seems to be working. And let's just check out our application. Everything is okay here. Now what I want to do is I just want to paste in some SCSS, not CSS. And since we are using SCSS, we are going to go to our code editor. And you go down here, actually in post list Svelte, you go below script or wherever you like. You open up style tags. And you set lang just like in Vue, right? Lang is equal to SCSS. And then I just paste in my code right here. So as you can see, this is just pure SCSS code, right? So I'm just going to save this and hope this works. Okay, great. Now we are getting a little bit better view of our page. So these are our numbers and they work. But what I also want to do is I actually want to display the page we are currently on, right? Because right now we don't know on which page we are on. So to do that, we need to just add a little bit of code to our buttons. So we go to our button right here, and then we can create conditional tag for our class, conditional classes depending on which page we are currently on. So I'm going to do class is equal to, and we are going to open up this and say if page is equal to current page, actually page current, no current page, then add class of active to this button. Otherwise, just don't add anything. And we already got on our button right here set up the setup class of active. So this should automatically work once I save this. Now if I go to my page right here, my application, as you can see we're currently on page number 1. If I click right here, now we are on page 2, 3 and so on. And as you can see, our pagination works. So now that you get the basic idea of this pagination, your homework is going to be to create previous and next buttons right here, and try to create pagination with also those buttons, because as you know, most of the paginations you come across on the internet have those. So they have previous page and next page as buttons right here so that you can click them. So anyway, this has been it for this video. Remember, everything we did here will be available for you on GitHub. The link will be in the description below. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.